I wanted to talk today a little bit about trust and about the fact that we are actually the least trusted industry, period. Like people just do not trust realtors. And, a lot of us will go through our entire careers feeling somewhat victimized by that. But the truth really is that we are not, for the most part, victims of any of this. The truth really is a lot of us or a lot of people in the real estate space have done it to ourselves. And, and I've talked about this a lot, and I know that it's something that everyone thinks about sometimes, that the barrier to entry into this industry is far too low in a lot of places. And that's an entirely different topic for an entirely different day. But the truth is that we've done this to ourselves. And a lot of the reasons why we're not trusted is the way that we market and the way that we show up in the world, right? These cheesy taglines, the way that we bombard people to work with us, the way that we have been taught, or old school marketing was done, that we continue to do today in a climate that it just doesn't fit. If we want to build trust in the world or in the markets that we're in, it actually requires the opposite of what a lot of us think. So trust and credibility are not the same thing. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because I think it's super important for everybody to recognize. Trust and credibility are not the same thing. So, credibility, you can be very credible and people can say, okay, you know what? That person is someone who is good at their job. But trust is a human thing. And human beings we're emotional creatures, right? And the way that we've marketed and the way that we've done so many things in the industry has really hurt basically like the things that we wish that we would have been able to done, but we wish that we would have been able to do. The the truth really is agents lie in their marketing. They lie in their marketing by trying to pretend that they're perfect and they're not. Agents hide in their marketing and they share nothing that's real, right? Agents want to be seen as something they're not. They don't show up in real, authentic, and vulnerable ways. Good marketing, effective marketing, is the opposite of this. So when someone isn't trusted, then people gang up on them, which again is why if you've ever posted an ad to cold traffic, you get such horrible like feedback, and you get people who troll your ads. As an industry, we are not liked. And you individually could be liked and loved by your clients, but the truth really is that like as an industry, we are actually quite hated. And we've done it to ourselves. Agents get trolled because they don't build relationships and they don't show up as real people. And when we do that element of perfectionism is you lying, right? It's trying to show up perfect and not showing up as in a real form to your audience. And human beings are human lie detectors. You guys have probably heard me say that before, right? We know when something's not real. We know when someone's not being truthful or something's not actually being portrayed accurately. And which is why like all of the sleazy tactics that people are taught, like I saw a sign the other day walking down the street that said that this home was sold 176% of asking. And I'm like, well, okay, so you priced it badly. So you didn't actually do a good job right on the front part of it. And I want to talk about like our brains a little bit. So we have two parts of our brains. We have the prefrontal cortex and we have the limbic system, right? And it matters a lot which part of the brain you choose to connect with. And the way that you market has to actually work with both sides. Human beings all process and engage with the world based on emotions first, right? It's only after something resonates with us emotionally that we actually activate the rational parts of our brain to justify and integrate into our value system and behavior. So, as much as we love to think of ourselves as perfectly rational, we're not rational beings at all, right? And this goes for everybody, you, me, the people that you're trying to market to, your clients. If you fail to establish that emotional click with your clients, they literally won't be able to trust you or like you enough to feel like you're someone that they can learn from, work with, etc. So they're not going to hire you as their agent because they don't feel like they can trust you. And it doesn't matter if your material and the things that you put out there are pure gold and super credible and that you are brilliant. It will not resonate. it will not stick. It won't produce change. So your clients or your potential clients will keep feeling like something's off and they won't take action, right? So again, what does this cue in all of us, right? This like dread of how do I do this? How do I show up? What do I do? And then all of the imposter syndrome. But on the other hand, if you take true care to connect with your ideal client base or your market emotionally first, honestly, anything is possible because you'll have created an authentic, accepting relationship with your audience. And that relationship, that connection, that conversation, that is where trust is really built, right? So when we talk about our methodology, it's the intimacy piece that is missing from a lot of people. And agents will tell me all the time, I have the intimacy stuff. Okay, great. But do you have the intimacy stuff dialed in with the people who you don't know, the people who are just following you, the people who you haven't had a conversation with? The answer is probably no. So the truth really is that in order for you to go deeper with your content, in order for you to go deeper with like the psychology of what you want to be putting into your marketing, people have to trust you first. So emotional resonance is the difference maker between video content, written content that feels preachy and out of touch and that really like doesn't land, and content that consistently resonates, connects, that actually creates change in that person's life in such a way that they feel enough of a pull towards reaching out to you. This is where inbound marketing actually happens. It happens with emotions first. Okay? So, what we want to do is create that emotional charge, that emotional change, that emotional click, right? And what actually happens from that? Audience growth, more sales, higher success rates for everything that you do in your marketing, being an authority in your marketplace, basically everything that you want, right? Okay, so you're probably saying, okay, you're right. How do I make sure that all of this works? Well, it's at the end of the day, everything when it comes to marketing is all the law of reciprocity. Okay, and you've heard me talk about this a million times. There's a reason why we don't just ask, right? Which, if you are still doing this and you're still posting stuff like, if you're still posting stuff like, referrals are the biggest compliment you can give me, or a picture of you and, here's my head, the best realtor in Toronto and your phone number, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm talking about here. So, what we really want to really like lean into is not going through I hope this gets enough views. I hope the algorithm isn't screwing me over lately. I hope that I have enough people that are reaching out. The truth really is you need to create more alignment between the credibility that you're putting out there, that the stuff that you're putting out that shows that you're good at what you do, and the emotional stuff, right? And so if you're not getting people who are reaching out to you and saying, wow, that really landed with me, or, I felt like you were inside my brain, or things like that, it means you're not hitting the mark with your content. There's a reason why posting just listed, just sold under contracts, in my opinion, is a waste of time and actually does the industry damage. And it's because there's no value there. And showing that you have business does not make you credible enough to have someone else's business. So what real marketing is based around is know, like, and trust. Trust, right? If someone doesn't trust you, they're not going to work with you. And if your business isn't growing and people aren't flocking to you, it's a lot of the time it's the trust factor. And it's the showing up as though you're perfect, trying to be that fake version of what you think that the realtor needs to look like. That's actually what's hurting you. Right? People will say to me all the time, like, 3/4 of the time I go live and I haven't looked in the mirror. And it's because that's not what it's about. I'm not here to look beautiful for you. I'm not here for any of that. I'm here for what's going to come out of my mouth. And it's the same thing with real estate. It doesn't matter what market you're in. I don't care if you're in Orange County and you're in a glamorous area. At the end of the day, people make decisions emotionally first. Okay. So what we really want is everything to start with emotional alignment. So you have to understand and be comfortable enough with yourself in order to put yourself out there in a real, authentic way. Because then you have aligned marketing and then you end up with an aligned business. Okay. So this isn't some innate ability that you either have or you don't have. Just like any other thing when it comes to marketing, it's a technique and a skill that you can develop. But you can learn it and get competent with it and start mastering it in one day. It really just comes down to, are you willing to turn the camera on and just truly be you? Are you willing to film yourself speaking something that's true? Right. And at the end of the day, what we all really want, we want to elevate this industry. We don't want to be seen as irrelevant, not needed, untrustworthy, sleazy, right? And I'm sure that all of us have been to a training at some point where we've thought, "Oh my God, they're actually teaching you to do that." I went to a training years ago, but it was this big, super long training, and the whole entire point of the training was to wear your realtor pin to the grocery store. I almost fell out of my chair at the end of it. I was like, I can't believe I just wasted this much time. And the truth is that wearing a realtor pin and having a sign on the back of your laptop when you work in a coffee shop that says "ask me about real estate" is not going to create any of this, right? As human beings are spend more time online, and we spend more time being bombarded from all angles with marketing, the emotional resonance factor is the most important part. And if you're not really prioritizing that, then your marketing is always going to hit the mark. And over time, its effectiveness is actually going to continue to drop. It's not like you're going to be maintaining what you're doing, right? So you can create that. And the harder way of doing it is you can create that once you get in the door, or you can create that with a larger segment of people. You can do it with, the one to many approach. And you can do it in a way that feels really good to you, feels really good to them, has you guys feeling connected. And then you have this whole audience of people who knows you, likes you, and trusts you. I'm sure you've heard me say this before. I would rather have 1,000 people who absolutely love me than have 100,000 people who could take or leave me. And the way to build true trust and love and evangelism in your business is to show up authentically and to show up as you and tell the truth. And I'm not talking about like, talk about your mess, or talk about something that's like you're having trouble in your marriage, or like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, are you being real? Are you showing up the way that you would normally show up? Are you telling stories that are real? Are you talking about things that have been hard for you in the past? Are you including your audience in parts of your life? And you don't have to include them in everything. I'm not saying like go out and like air your dirty laundry, but I'm saying, are you actually truthfully showing up in alignment and in integrity with the fact that you believe that you should be trusted? Are you resonating emotionally, and are you showing people that you are a real person, that you can be trusted? Right? I mean, we work with agents all day every day that maybe shouldn't be, you know? I mean, I've done thousands of deals over the years, and the number of agents that I would actually refer to that I've done a deal with are it's very low. And it's because there's not that many people who are really excellent and who are really genuinely lovely. And that's what people want. So let's talk about, um, how to change this and what to do differently. So number one is add in more personal content. Be a real human being in all of your marketing, including your paid traffic. Okay. Stop being so salesy and don't believe that you need to have a call to action at the end of every single thing that you put out there, because that's not true. Okay. The worst thing that you can see in the world is, some beautiful post about something that's happened to someone in the past with call me for all of your real estate needs. Like, there's something that just feels so tacky about that. So be very careful. Don't ask more than you give, which you've all heard me say before. But also, show up as a real person. If you're having, if something's happened and you want to share, like 100%, like do that and share. I think that, there's so many aspects of our lives that will resonate, and people need leadership. So the way that you actually build trust is to lead. And that doesn't just mean lead by perfection. Perfection is boring, and perfection is a lie and it doesn't exist. So, the question that I would ask you is how can you show up in a way that will actually create more connection, that will allow you to have deeper conversations or in real conversations with the people who you want to be talking to? And how can you be different? Look at everything that everyone else is doing out there. The just listed, just solds, the pictures of staircases, the massively modified photos of themselves. And instead, do the opposite. Take some selfies. Don't edit them. Show up without a filter on. Show up and talk about something that's been hard for you. Have you been having a hard time with your kids during the pandemic? Talk about it. Because I guarantee you that there are going to be people who will also resonate with it and who will actually feel less alone because you showed up as a leader and you talked about it. Whatever that thing may be. You being afraid to be judged is actually keeping you small. And fear of judgment is 100% the biggest reason why people don't find success. Because and I'll give you an example. So when I first started the listings lab, this was years ago. When I first started it, I'd been an extremely successful agent myself, but I was in like right off the bat, I was shoved into, okay, if I'm telling people that I can create seven-figure agents, then I myself have to have a seven-figure business. So what did I do? I went against everything that I teach, and I worked so hard that I can't eat, I would like be cross-eyed at the end of the day so that we were on a seven-figure run rate in our first month of launching the listings lab because I chose one kind of alignment over another. And I can talk about that openly now, and I can learn from it, and I can help other people learn from it, because the truth really is that I was feeling the imposter syndrome. I was feeling like people weren't going to trust me. And it's not like any of you guys are in my bank accounts anyway, but I still felt that pressure. And I burnt myself out really, really quickly after years of being burnt out in real estate and fixing that so that I could teach other agents how not to do it that way. I still did it to myself again. Right? So I can talk about that now, and I can help people see that there is a human aspect to all of this, and nobody's perfect. And honestly, people would rather talk connect with you through your mess. And we say this all the time, right? Like your mess is your message. And it's the reasons why you feel compelled to do what you do. It's the mission behind your business that people are going to connect with. It's the emotional side of who you are and how you show up and the way that you make them feel that actually matters, right? People, like we've all heard that cliched, thing of it doesn't matter what you say, it matters how you make them feel. That's 100% the truth, right? I can think back to so many memories where I have no idea what somebody said to me, but I know if I felt good or I felt bad. So just something to think about as you kind of go into the rest of your week and you show up. How can you show up more real? How can you show up more vulnerably, more authentically? How can you just be you? Because I promise you, you is enough.